One of the most fundamental and arguably one of the most confusing concepts of chemistry is the mole. The mole is how chemists describe amounts of chemicals. And what a mole allows us to do is it allows us to convert between number of molecules and mass. And unfortunately, there is no parallel to this in our everyday life. When we talk about quantities of objects in our everyday life, we either count them, which is a number, or we measure them, such as mass and sometimes volume. So, for example, if I was telling someone how many students I have in my class, I would say 17. That's a counted number. I would not say I have 1,500 pounds of students. That would not be very useful. However, when we go to the store and we're buying, let's say, meat, we buy it in terms of pounds, not how many particles of meat we may have. So we, in our everyday life, quantify things by counting or by measurement. And there's really no reason in our everyday life to convert between number and mass or mass and number. There's no reason to. However, for atoms and molecules, it's really important that we are able to do that. We need to know the number of molecules or atoms in a sample because when we do chemical reactions, certain numbers of molecules react with certain number of other molecules in a balanced chemical equation. We have to know how many molecules we have in a given sample if we want a chemical reaction to work correctly and if we want to end up with a specific amount of product, which is often why we do chemical reactions, to get a specific product. Now, we cannot actually count molecules like we can count people in a class or apples in a basket because molecules are so incredibly small. If you take a look at a period on a piece of paper and just know that the number of carbon atoms, if that dot is made from graphite, which is carbon, the number of carbon atoms in that period would not be countable in our lifetime. We would not have enough time in our life to count all the carbon atoms in that very tiny amount. So we need to know how many atoms or molecules we have. There's too many to count. What are we going to do? Well, we have the mole. And the mole allows us to convert between number and mass. So once we know the mass of a chemical, which we can weigh in the lab, we're absolutely capable of determining the mass of a chemical, then we can determine how many molecules there are. And the mole is what allows us to do that.